I'm Rachel, 32 years old, and I've always been the family rock. The birthday planner. The shoulder to cry on. The one who remembers every anniversary and celebration. So when my entire family forgot my birthday last year, something inside me finally snapped. After years of putting everyone else first, I decided it was time to put myself first for once. I booked a luxury vacation to Bali that I've been secretly dreaming about for years. Little did I know that this act of self-love would send my family into a frenzy. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt underappreciated by the people closest to you. Family has always been everything to me. Growing up in a tight-knit household with my parents, my older brother Mark, and my younger sister Stephanie created this unshakable belief that family comes first, no matter what. We lived in a modest suburban home in Michigan, where holiday gatherings and birthday celebrations were sacred traditions that brought us all together. As the middle child, I somehow fell into the role of family organizer. While Mark pursued his finance career and Stephanie chased her dreams in fashion design, I stayed close to home, working as a marketing manager for a local company. This proximity meant I became the default planner for every family occasion. Last year alone, I orchestrated 3 major family celebrations. For Stephanie's graduation from fashion school, I spent weeks coordinating with caterers, designing custom decorations that matched her portfolio colors, and even created a slideshow featuring her journey from childhood fashion disasters to runway-worthy designs. My parents were thrilled, and Stephanie cried happy tears during my heartfelt toast. When Mark received a significant promotion at his investment firm, I arranged a surprise dinner at Detroit's most exclusive restaurant. I coordinated with his wife Amanda to ensure he was completely surprised, and I even flew in his college roommate from Seattle. The evening was perfect, with champagne flowing and everyone celebrating Mark's accomplishment with personalized speeches I had carefully collected and organized. For my parents' 35th anniversary, I outdid myself by recreating their first date at the local drive-in theater. I rented out the entire venue, arranged for their wedding song to play before the movie, and compiled video messages from relatives who couldn't attend. Mom couldn't stop telling her friends about how thoughtful and perfect the evening had been. Through all these celebrations, I never complained. I genuinely loved seeing my family happy, and their joy felt like enough of a reward. But somewhere deep down, I hoped they would reciprocate when my turn came around. My birthday expectations weren't extravagant. I didn't need a surprise party or expensive gifts. A nice dinner with my family, perhaps at the Italian restaurant downtown I'd been mentioning for months, would have been perfect. Maybe a thoughtful card acknowledging the challenging year I'd had after my breakup with James, my boyfriend of 3 years. In the weeks leading up to my birthday, I dropped subtle hints. During our weekly Sunday dinner at my parents' house, I mentioned that the upcoming weekend would be special. When Mom talked about her book club meeting next Thursday, I casually remarked, "Oh, that's my birthday." She nodded absently while passing the mashed potatoes. During a shopping trip with Stephanie, I pointed out a bracelet I liked, adding my birthstone with a smile. She complimented my taste but quickly moved on to showing me dresses she was considering for a friend's wedding. The morning of my birthday arrived with no special feeling in the air. I woke up early, half expecting a text or early morning call. My phone screen remained disappointingly notification-free. Aside from an automated email from my dentist and a social media reminder about a high school acquaintance's birthday, they're probably waiting to call later, I told myself as I got ready for work. Maybe they're planning something for this evening. By lunchtime, the silence became uncomfortable. I checked my phone repeatedly, each time feeling a little pang when there were no messages from family. I scrolled through social media during my lunch break and saw that Mark had posted about his excitement for an upcoming basketball game. Mom had shared photos of her garden, and Stephanie had uploaded a mirror selfie showcasing her new haircut. My birthday wasn't acknowledged by any of them. Around 3 o'clock, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Mom under the pretense of asking about a recipe. "Hi, honey, everything okay?" she answered, sounding distracted. "Just wanted to check in," I said, my voice carefully casual. "What are you up to today?" "Oh, just the usual Thursday errands. Grocery shopping, then picking up Dad's prescription. We might go see that new Tom Hanks movie tonight since the senior discount applies on Thursdays." My heart sank. There was no recognition in her voice, no special tone, no hint that she remembered what day it was. "Any special plans this weekend?" I probed, giving her one last chance. Nothing comes to mind. Your father might golf if the weather's good. Why? Did you want to come over? The realization settled like a cold weight in my stomach. They had completely forgotten my birthday. Not just a delayed celebration or a mix-up of dates, they had genuinely forgotten. After all the birthdays, anniversaries, and milestones I had meticulously remembered and celebrated for them, my own birthday hadn't even registered as important enough to mark on a calendar. I mumbled something about being busy and ended the call, sitting at my desk with a hollow feeling spreading through my chest. It wasn't just disappointment, it was a painful recognition that the balance in our family relationships was fundamentally uneven. After hanging up with Mom, I locked myself in a bathroom stall at work and cried silently for 10 minutes. The tears weren't just about this birthday. They were about years of feeling like my needs came second to everyone else's in my family. Memories flooded back of previous birthdays that had been similarly overlooked. My 25th birthday, when my parents rescheduled our dinner because Mark had tickets to a concert. My 28th, when Stephanie asked if we could celebrate the following weekend because she had a date with a guy she just met last year. When my birthday dinner turned into a discussion about my cousin's wedding, with barely a pause to acknowledge the occasion we were supposedly celebrating. Back at my desk, I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept replaying a montage of times I'd gone above and beyond for my family while my own needs were treated as an afterthought. The pattern was painfully clear now, though I'd been blind to it for years. When the workday finally ended, I declined invitations from coworkers for happy hour drinks. No one at work knew it was my birthday either. I'd never been one to broadcast it, and I couldn't bear to explain why I was upset. Instead, I called my best friend Natalie, the one person who never forgot my birthday. She'd sent a beautiful bouquet to my apartment and left a heartfelt voicemail that morning that I'd clung to throughout the day. Please tell me they at least called by now, she said when she picked up, already sounding concerned. They forgot. Nat completely forgot. My voice cracked despite my efforts to keep it steady. I'm coming over, she declared. This is not okay. And I'm bringing wine and cake. An hour later, we sat on my couch, eating birthday cake straight from the box and working our way through a bottle of Pinot Noir. I just don't understand how they could forget, I said, licking frosting from my fork. I literally mentioned it to Mom last week. Natalie put down her glass and looked at me directly. I'm going to say something you might not want to hear, but as your friend, I need to say it. I nodded, bracing myself. This isn't just about them forgetting your birthday. This is about a pattern where you give and give and give to your family and they take it for granted. You've become the family support system, not a family member with needs of your own. That's not fair, I protested weakly. They love me. They're just busy with their own lives. Of course they love you, Natalie said gently. But love should be reciprocal. When was the last time Mark or Stephanie organized something special for you? When was the last time your parents went out of their way to celebrate your achievements? I fell silent, unable to come up with examples that weren't years old. Rachel, you deserve to be celebrated just as much as you celebrate others. You deserve to be seen. After Natalie left, her words echoed in my head. Unable to sleep, I opened my laptop around midnight and began mindlessly scrolling through travel sites, something I often did when stressed. It was pure escapism. Clicking through pictures of white sand beaches and turquoise waters that seemed worlds away from my disappointment. That's when I saw it. A featured luxury package deal for a 10-day stay at an exclusive resort in Bali. The images showed private villas overlooking the ocean, infinity pools merging with horizon views, spa treatments in bamboo pavilions, and sunrise yoga sessions on pristine beaches. The price tag made me wince initially. It would take a significant portion of my savings. Money I'd been putting aside for some vague future purpose. In the past, I might have dismissed the idea immediately as impractical or selfish. But something had shifted inside me. Natalie's words had unlocked a realization that had been building for years. I had spent so long prioritizing others that I'd forgotten how to prioritize myself. I found myself calculating vacation days I'd accumulated at work, mentally reviewing my calendar for conflicts. There were none because I always made myself available for everyone else's schedules. My finger hovered over the Book Now button. A voice in my head, one that sounded suspiciously like my mother's, reminded me that expensive solo vacations were indulgent, that the money could be saved for something more practical, that traveling alone might be dangerous for a woman. But another voice, stronger and clearer, countered these objections. This voice reminded me that I was 32 years old, financially stable, and completely capable of making my own decisions. This voice sounded like me. The real me that had been silenced for too long. With a surge of adrenaline, I clicked the button. The booking process was surprisingly easy, as if the universe was confirming I'd made the right choice. When the confirmation email arrived in my inbox, I felt something I hadn't expected, not guilt, but exhilaration. For the first time in years, I had done something solely for myself, without considering how it would affect or benefit anyone else. I closed my laptop and slept better than I had in months, with dreams of ocean breezes and newfound freedom. The morning after booking my trip, I woke up wondering if I'd regret my impulsive decision. Instead, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. Over breakfast, I reviewed the confirmation details and began making lists of what I'd need to prepare before departing in 3 weeks. My first task was requesting time off work. I approached my boss Janet with uncharacteristic nervousness. I rarely took vacation days, often donating them to coworkers with family emergencies or using them to help plan family events. "You want 10 consecutive days off?" Janet looked genuinely surprised when I made my request. "That's not like you, Rachel." "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine," I assured her. "I just decided it's time I took a real vacation. I've booked a trip to Bali." Her surprise transformed into a broad smile. "Good for you. You've got more accumulated vacation time than anyone in the department. Consider it approved. We'll manage without our resident problem solver for a few days." With work arrangements settled, I threw myself into preparations. I created detailed packing lists, researched Balinese customs and phrases, and mapped out potential excursions. Each step of planning felt like an act of self-care after years of planning events for others. The weekend after booking the trip, I went shopping for vacation essentials. I splurged on items I'd normally consider too indulgent: a designer swimsuit, a real silk cover-up, high-quality sunscreen, and a wide-brimmed hat I'd seen in a travel magazine. The saleswoman at the department store commented on my obvious excitement as I described my upcoming solo adventure. "I've never done anything like this before," I admitted as she rang up my purchases. "Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we deserve beautiful experiences," she replied with a knowing smile. "My first solo trip changed my life. I hope yours does the same." Her words stayed with me as I continued preparations, reinforcing my decision each time doubt crept in. I wasn't just planning a vacation, I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been overshadowed by my role as the family caretaker. I decided not to tell my family about the trip immediately. It wasn't out of spite, I simply wanted to keep this experience sacred and personal for a little longer before inevitably fielding their questions and concerns. However, my plan for privacy unraveled faster than expected. A week after booking, my sister Stephanie stopped by my apartment unannounced, supposedly to borrow a dress for a job interview. While I was making us coffee, she used my laptop to check her email and noticed the Bali confirmation sitting in my open inbox. "What's this about a trip to Bali?" she called from my living room. Her voice a mixture of surprise and something else. Was it jealousy? I returned with our coffees, setting them down before responding. "I booked a vacation. I'm going next month." Stephanie stared at me with wide eyes. "By yourself? To Bali? That resort looks super expensive. When were you going to tell us?" "Eventually," I said, fighting the automatic guilt rising in my chest. "I just wanted to keep it to myself for a bit." "But we always talk about big decisions," she pressed, scrolling through the details of my booking. "Wow, a private villa? Infinity pool? This must have cost a fortune." "It's my money, Steph," I reminded her gently but firmly. "And sometimes I make decisions just for myself." She looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. "This is about your birthday, isn't it? Look, I'm really sorry we forgot. Things have been crazy with work and—" "This isn't about getting an apology," I interrupted. "This is about doing something for myself for once." Stephanie fell silent, coffee forgotten as she processed my uncharacteristic assertiveness. Then predictably she pulled out her phone. "You have to see these villas, Mom," she said after dialing. "Rachel's booked some crazy luxury vacation to Bali. By herself." And just like that, my private decision became family news. Within an hour, my phone was buzzing constantly with messages in our family group chat. "Mom, Bali? All alone. Honey, is everything okay? Dad. That's an awful long way to travel by yourself. Have you considered the safety issues? Mark. Midlife crisis hitting early, sis? Each message carried an undercurrent of concern mixed with something else, discomfort that I'd made a significant decision without consulting them, perhaps, or surprise that steady, reliable Rachel would do something so uncharacteristically independent. Later that evening, Mom called for a more detailed interrogation. Stephanie mentioned a very expensive resort. She began, bypassing greetings entirely. Is this really the best use of your savings, sweetie? I've thought it through, I replied, surprised by my own calm. I've been saving for years and I can afford it. But alone? Wouldn't it be more fun to go with someone? Maybe Natalie could join you, or you could wait until one of us could go too. That's the point, Mom. This is something I want to experience by myself. A pause, then. This isn't like you, Rachel. Her words were intended to make me reconsider, but instead, they reinforced my resolve. Perhaps it was time for something that wasn't like me, or at least, not like the me they had come to expect. The following days brought escalating interest from my family. Mark texted asking about the resort amenities out of curiosity. Dad sent links to safety articles about solo female travelers. Mom called daily with thinly veiled attempts to understand my sudden decision. Stephanie was the most direct. Over lunch the following weekend, she casually suggested, I have some vacation days saved up too. We could make it a sister's trip. Wouldn't that be more fun than going alone? I looked at my sister, my beautiful, confident sister who had never worried about putting herself first, and found myself smiling. This is something I need to do for myself, Steph. Just me. She frowned slightly, unused to being denied. But we've always talked about traveling together someday. And we will, I assured her. But this trip is just for me. As I drove home from lunch, I realized something surprising. For the first time, my family's attention felt different. They were suddenly interested in my plans, my decisions, my life. The irony wasn't lost on me that it had taken an act of independence to make them truly see me. As my departure date approached, my family's subtle suggestions about joining my vacation evolved into a coordinated campaign. What began as curious questions transformed into persistent pressure tactics that tested my newfound resolve daily. Mom called one evening as I was comparing snorkeling tour options. I've been thinking about your trip, she began, her voice carrying that special tone she reserved for gentle manipulation. Our family has always vacationed together. Remember those summer trips to Lake Michigan? Your father and I were talking about how long it's been since we had a real family vacation. This isn't a family vacation, Mom, I reminded her, keeping my voice gentle but firm. It's a personal trip I planned for myself. But that's just it, honey. Vacations are about creating memories with the people you love. Going alone seems so lonely. The old Rachel would have folded under the subtle guilt trip, but something had shifted inside me. I'm looking forward to the solitude, actually. It'll be a new experience. Dad took a different approach when he called the next day. Your mother mentioned the resort you're staying at. Looks pretty pricey from what I found online. He cleared his throat in that way he did when discussing financial matters. If you'd be open to company, we could share some of those costs. Your mother and I could help plan some activities too. Might make the whole thing more economical. Thanks, Dad, but I've already budgeted for everything. I appreciate the offer, though. His pause conveyed disappointment. Well, the offer stands if you change your mind. Just seems a shame to spend all that money and not maximize the experience. Even Mark, who typically maintained a steady disinterest in family dynamics, joined the effort. So I've been reading about Bali, he announced during our monthly sibling dinner. Did you know they have some of the best surfing spots in the world? I've always wanted to learn. Since when are you interested in Balinese culture? I asked, unable to hide my skepticism. He shrugged, attempting nonchalance. Just seems like a cool place. Thought maybe if you wanted company. Stephanie was the least subtle. Rachel, she said during a shopping trip for my final vacation essentials, I've actually always dreamed of visiting Bali. The temples, the beaches, the food, it's literally been on my vision board for years. She held up a flowy dress against herself. This would be perfect for sunset drinks at that infinity pool. We could take the most amazing photos together. I didn't know you were interested in Bali, I replied. remembering how just last year she dismissed my mention of wanting to visit Southeast Asia as too basic, compared to her dream destinations in Europe. Of course. And think about it. Sister bonding time in paradise. When else will we get this opportunity? While my family ramped up their campaign, my friends and coworkers provided unexpected support. During a team lunch, I mentioned the increasing pressure from my family to allow them to join my solo vacation. Don't you dare give in, advised Monica from accounting, who had recently returned from her own solo trip to Portugal. Family vacations are great, but there's something transformative about traveling alone. You discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. Natalie was even more emphatic when I called her feeling wavering after a particularly persistent call from Mom. Rachel, listen to me. If you let them join, this stops being your journey of self-discovery and becomes another family event where you'll end up coordinating everyone's schedules and making sure everyone else is having a good time. You'll come back exactly the same person who left. Her words strengthened my resolve just in time for the family dinner scheduled 1 week before my departure. I arrived at my parents' house to find everyone already there, including Mark's wife Amanda, who greeted me with unusual enthusiasm. The awkwardness was palpable as we sat down to eat. Halfway through dinner, Mom disappeared into the other room and returned with a wrapped gift and a cake with a single candle. We wanted to properly celebrate your birthday, she announced as the family sang an overly enthusiastic rendition of Happy Birthday, 3 weeks too late. The gift turned out to be a set of premium travel accessories. A memory foam neck pillow, a sleep mask, compression socks, and a monogrammed luggage tag. Practical, thoughtful gifts that would indeed be useful for my trip. We feel terrible about forgetting your special day, Dad said as I thanked them for the gifts. We hope this makes up for it a little bit. It's very thoughtful, I said sincerely. Thank you. A moment of genuine warmth passed before Stephanie cleared her throat. So, speaking of your trip. And there it was, the real purpose behind the belated celebration. We've been talking, Mom continued, and we think it would be wonderful if we could join you for your vacation. Not the whole time, of course. Just the last 3 or 4 days. We could fly in on Tuesday, Dad added, as if it were already decided. That would give you plenty of alone time first. I could arrive Monday night, Stephanie chimed in. We could do a spa day together Tuesday before Mom and Dad arrive. And Amanda and I could join Wednesday, Mark concluded. I've already looked into flights. They all looked at me expectantly, as if I should be thrilled by their generous offer to hijack the end of my carefully planned solo retreat. In that moment, I saw with perfect clarity how accustomed they were to me accommodating their wishes, to placing their desires above my own. I'm sorry, I said quietly but firmly. But no, this trip is just for me. The silence that followed was deafening. But we've already researched flights, Stephanie protested. And we thought it would make up for missing your birthday, Mom added. Her expression a mixture of hurt and confusion. I appreciate the thought, I said, choosing my words carefully. But this trip isn't about my birthday anymore. It's about taking time for myself after years of always putting everyone else first. That's not fair, Dad frowned. We've never asked you to put us first. You didn't have to ask, I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. I just did it. And you all got used to it. The dinner devolved into tense conversation after that, with occasional attempts to revisit the vacation topic that I gently but firmly deflected. When I left that night, the hugs were stiff, the goodbyes clipped. The day before my departure, Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced as I was finishing my packing. I just wanted to see you before you left, she said, her eyes taking in the neatly organized suitcase on my bed. And to talk, just us. We sat on my couch, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the living room. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I feel like you're shutting us out, Mom finally said. Her voice small. Like this trip is your way of rejecting your family. The hurt in her voice nearly cracked my resolve. It's not about rejecting you, Mom. It's about finally making space for myself. But we're your family. We should be included in the important parts of your life. You are included, I assured her. But that doesn't mean you need to be part of everything. Sometimes I need to put myself first, and that's what this trip is about. Tears welled in her eyes. I can't help feeling like we've done something wrong, like we're losing you somehow. I took her hand, feeling my own eyes grow damp. You're not losing me. But maybe you're seeing a side of me that's always been there but never had the chance to emerge. A part of me that needs to stand on my own sometimes. We talked for over an hour. Really talked in a way we hadn't in years. Though we didn't reach a perfect understanding, something shifted between us. As she left, her hug was warmer, her have a wonderful trip more genuine. The next morning at the airport, my phone buzzed with last-minute family texts. Dad. Safe travels, sweetheart. Call when you land, no matter what time it is here. Mark. Have fun, sis. Bring me back something cool. Stephanie. Still wish I was coming with you, but I want pics of everything. Mom. I'm proud of you for doing this, Rachel. Love you more than you know. That last message brought unexpected tears to my eyes as I waited to board. As the plane took off, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Guilt and excitement, nervousness and determination. But most of all, I felt a profound sense of finally honoring my own needs, something I should have done years ago. After nearly 24 hours of travel, the sight of Bali's lush greenery from the airplane window sent a thrill of anticipation through me. The airport was a whirlwind of new sights, sounds, and scents, incense mingling with tropical flowers, colorful offerings adorning corners, and the musical lilt of Indonesian being spoken all around me. A driver from the resort met me at arrivals, holding a sign with my name and greeting me with a warm, "Selamat datang." Welcome. The drive to the resort provided glimpses of local life. Women balancing baskets on their heads, children playing in village courtyards, temples with intricate stone carvings peeking through dense foliage. When we arrived at the resort entrance, my breath caught. Photos hadn't done justice to the sweeping views of the Indian Ocean, the terraced infinity pools cascading down toward a private beach, or the meticulous gardens blooming with exotic flowers I couldn't name. Miss Rachel, welcome to your sanctuary, the manager greeted me, placing a fragrant frangipani lei around my neck. We hope your stay with us will be transformative. My villa exceeded every expectation. Perched on a cliff with unobstructed ocean views, it featured a private infinity plunge pool, an outdoor shower garden, a canopied king bed facing floor-to-ceiling windows, and a bathroom larger than my entire apartment bedroom back home. This can't be real. I whispered to myself after the staff member who had shown me around departed. I stepped onto the private terrace, feeling the warm breeze against my skin, and for the first time in years, I felt completely present in the moment. Not planning the next family event, not worrying about others' needs, just experiencing the pure joy of being alive in a beautiful place. That first evening, I dined alone at the resort's beachfront restaurant, something that would have terrified me just weeks earlier. The hostess seated me at a prime table overlooking the ocean sunset, and I ordered a multi-course Balinese feast with a glass of chilled white wine. First time in Bali? Asked a friendly voice. I looked up to see a woman about my age at the next table, dining with a group of people who appeared to be from various countries. Is it that obvious? I laughed. Only because you have that wonderful "I can't believe I'm here" look that I remember from my first visit, she replied with a warm smile. I'm Diana, by the way. We're all solo travelers who met at a cooking class yesterday. By dessert, Diana had invited me to join their group for a sunrise yoga session the next morning, and I surprised myself by accepting immediately. The old Rachel would have hesitated, worried about intruding or committing to plans with strangers. The new Rachel recognized an opportunity for connection and growth. That first full day set the tone for the vacation. I woke before dawn for yoga on the beach with my new acquaintances, Diana from Australia, Kai from Germany, Priya from India, and Miguel from Brazil. As we moved through sun salutations while the sky transformed from inky black to brilliant orange, I felt a profound sense of community with these strangers who were on their own journeys of discovery. Why Bali? Priya asked me over breakfast smoothie bowls afterward. The question gave me pause. I think I needed to prove to myself that I could do something just for me, I admitted. I've spent so long being what everyone else needed me to be. Nods of understanding circled the table. That's why many come to Bali, Kai observed. To find the self beyond the roles we play for others. Each day brought new adventures. I took a waterfall hiking expedition with a local guide named Wayan, who pointed out medicinal plants and shared stories of Balinese mythology as we trekked through emerald rice terraces. The moment I stood beneath the thundering cascade, letting the sacred waters wash over me, felt like a baptism of sorts, washing away years of putting myself last. I participated in a traditional cooking class in a family compound. learning to prepare satay lilit and nasi campur from a grandmother who spoke little English but communicated through smiles and gentle guidance. The pride I felt when I successfully created a complex sambal sauce from scratch was unexpectedly powerful. I visited ancient temples with intricate stone carvings, learning about Balinese Hinduism from local guides. At Tirta and Pule, I participated in a purification ritual, immersing myself in holy spring water alongside local worshippers who welcomed me with genuine warmth. Each evening, I returned to my villa and shared glimpses of these experiences on social media, something I rarely did at home. I posted photos of sunrise yoga, videos of traditional dance performances, images of exotic fruits and flower-strewn offerings. I wasn't seeking validation or trying to make anyone jealous. I was simply documenting this journey for myself. Yet I couldn't help but notice the increasing engagement from my family. Stephanie commented on every post with variations of, "This looks amazing," and "I can't believe you're experiencing this without me." Mark, who rarely interacted with social media, started liking my photos. Mom left lengthy comments about how beautiful everything looked and how she was saving these ideas for when we visit someday. Midway through my stay, I met Naomi, an elderly woman who owned a small warung restaurant near the resort. After I'd eaten there several times, she invited me to join her in preparing offerings one morning. As we sat cross-legged, weaving palm fronds and arranging flower petals, she shared wisdom that resonated deeply. In Bali, we believe in Trihita Karana, 3 causes of well-being, she explained in melodic English. Harmony with God, harmony with nature, and harmony with other humans. But first, young lady, there must be harmony within yourself. Without this, the other harmonies cannot exist. How do you find that inner harmony? I asked, struggling with a particularly intricate fold. Her weathered hands gently corrected my technique. By honoring your true nature. By making space for your soul to breathe. By saying no when your spirit needs rest and yes when it yearns for growth. She looked up at me with knowing eyes. You came to Bali to learn this, yes? Her insight brought unexpected tears to my eyes. Yes, I whispered. I think I did. As the vacation progressed, I found myself trying things I'd never have attempted at home. I took a surfing lesson, spending more time wiping out than standing on the board, but laughing more freely than I had in years. I joined a midnight snorkeling expedition to see bioluminescent plankton, overcoming my fear of dark water. I got up on stage during a local music performance when they called for volunteers, dancing awkwardly but joyfully to traditional gamelan rhythms. With each new experience, I felt layers of self-doubt and people-pleasing habits falling away. The Rachel who had arrived in Bali, careful, accommodating, always considering others first, was evolving into someone more authentic, more confident, more complete. On my 7th night, sitting on my private terrace watching stars reflect on the ocean's surface, I realized I was genuinely happy, not because I was making others happy, but simply because I was honoring my own journey. The revelation was both simple and profound. I deserved to prioritize my own joy just as much as I prioritized others. It was a lesson I had traveled halfway around the world to learn, but one I would carry with me long after this paradise became a memory. On the morning of my 8th day in Bali, I woke to an alarming series of notifications. First, a text from Stephanie. Surprise! Guess who just booked flights to Bali? Can't wait to see you on Thursday. Send the resort details so we can book rooms near your villa. Then an email from Mom. Darling, we're so excited to join you for the last part of your trip. Dad and I will arrive Thursday afternoon. Mark and Amanda are coming too. We'll all have dinner together Thursday night. What restaurant do you recommend at the resort? Finally, a message from Mark. Hey sis, looks like we're crashing your solo vacation. Mom insisted. Sorry in advance. My hands shook as I read the messages, a mix of disbelief and anger rising within me. After all our conversations, after I had explicitly and repeatedly told them this trip was just for me, they had decided their wishes trumped my clearly stated boundaries. I called Natalie immediately, despite the time difference. They booked flights, I said when she answered, my voice tight with emotion. They're all coming. In 2 days. They did what? Natalie's outrage was validating. Please tell me you're not going to let this happen. I don't know what to do. I admitted. They've already booked everything. Rachel, listen to me. This is exactly the pattern we talked about. They're counting on you folding because you always put their wants above your needs. This is your chance to break that pattern once and for all. After we hung up, I sat on my terrace, watching the ocean and contemplating my options. The old Rachel would have resigned herself to the situation, rearranged her plans to accommodate everyone, and pushed down her disappointment. But I wasn't that person anymore. At breakfast, I shared my dilemma with my new friends. Their reactions were unanimous. "That's a serious boundary violation," Priya said firmly. "You were clear about your needs. Your family is testing whether your new boundaries are real," Diana added. "If you give in now, nothing will change when you go home." Kai nodded in agreement. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for others is to be honest about our own needs. It teaches them to respect us as we truly are. Their support strengthened my resolve. I returned to my villa and made one of the most difficult calls of my life. "Rachel." Mom answered cheerfully. "I was just about to call you about our flight details." "Mom," I said, my heart pounding but my voice steady, "I need you to cancel your trip." Silence then. "What?" "But we've already booked everything." "I understand that. And I'm sorry if you lose money on the bookings. But I was very clear that this trip was just for me. I'm not okay with you all coming. But we thought you'd be happy to see us by now." She protested. "We're trying to make up for forgetting your birthday. If you want to make it up to me, you can respect my wishes. This isn't about my birthday anymore. It's about me needing you all to see me as an independent person with my own needs." Dad got on the phone then, his voice carrying that authoritative tone he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. "Rachel, be sensible. We've paid for international flights. Your mother has been looking forward to this. Surely we can compromise." The word compromise triggered something in me. How many times had compromise meant me giving up what I wanted to make others happy? "I'm sorry, but no," I said firmly. "If you come, I won't be meeting you. I won't be changing my plans. I won't be having dinner with you on Thursday or any other night of my vacation." "You can't be serious," Dad responded, his voice rising in disbelief. "I've never been more serious," I replied. "I need you to respect my boundaries. I need you to hear me when I tell you what I need." The call deteriorated after that. Mom cried, Dad grew increasingly frustrated, and I maintained my position with a firmness that surprised even me. When we finally hung up, I felt shaky but empowered. Stephanie called next, her voice tight with anger. "I can't believe you're doing this. We were trying to do something nice for you." "No, Steph. You were trying to do something you wanted, regardless of what I had clearly stated I needed. That's not fair. I was looking forward to sister time in paradise. We can plan a trip together another time, one we decide on together. But this trip is mine." After more back and forth, she hung up on me. I sat on my terrace, emotionally exhausted but certain I had done the right thing. To my surprise, I received a private message from Mark shortly after. "For what it's worth, I think you're right to stand your ground. I told Mom this was a bad idea. But you know how she gets when she's set on something. Take your time, do your thing. We'll all still be here when you get back." His unexpected support brought tears to my eyes. Maybe I wasn't completely alone in recognizing the unhealthy patterns in our family dynamics. The resort manager approached me discreetly at lunch. "Miss Rachel, I hope you don't mind my mentioning this, but we received inquiries from people identifying themselves as your family members, asking about booking accommodations near your villa. As per our privacy policy, we didn't confirm or deny your stay. I wanted to check if you would like us to make any arrangements." I thanked her for respecting my privacy and assured her no arrangements would be necessary. The fact that they had tried to contact the resort directly, despite my clear wishes, reinforced that I'd made the right decision. That evening, my parents requested a video call. I accepted with trepidation, but determined to maintain my boundaries. Mom appeared first on screen, her expression subdued. "We've canceled our flights," she said without preamble. "Your father and I have been talking and, well, we owe you an apology." Dad moved into frame beside her. "We didn't listen to you, Rachel. We thought we knew better than you what you needed. That wasn't right." Their sincerity caught me off guard. "Thank you for understanding," I said, my voice softer than it had been during our previous call. "I can't say I fully understand why you need to be alone," Mom admitted. "But I'm trying to. And more importantly, I'm trying to respect it even without fully understanding." "That means a lot to me," I told her. "Mark said something that made us think," Dad added. "He pointed out that you've always been there for everyone else's big moments, always supporting everyone else's decisions even when you might have had reservations. Maybe it's time we learn to do the same for you. We talked for nearly an hour, a real conversation where they asked questions about my experiences in Bali and actually listened to my answers. There were awkward moments and old patterns that tried to reassert themselves, but there was also a new awareness on both sides. When we hung up, I felt lighter, as if a burden I'd carried for years had begun to lift. That night, I slept deeply and dreamlessly, more at peace than I had been in longer than I could remember. Stephanie texted the next morning. "I'm still mad at you, but I'm trying to understand. Maybe we can talk when you get back." It wasn't perfect resolution, but it was a start. A recognition that our relationship needed to evolve into something more balanced, more respectful of each other's individuality. As I spent my final days in Bali, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just for standing my ground with my family, but for honoring myself in a way I never had before. The woman who had returned home was fundamentally changed, not because she had seen beautiful places or had exotic experiences, but because she had finally learned that her needs matter too. The flight home gave me time to reflect on all that had changed, both around me and within me. As the plane began its descent into Detroit, I felt a familiar anxiety creeping in. Would I be able to maintain my newfound boundaries once I was back in familiar surroundings? Would I slip back into old patterns of prioritizing everyone else's needs above my own? I had arranged for a rideshare from the airport, assuming no one would meet me after the drama of the past week. So when I spotted Mark leaning against a pillar in the arrivals area, hands in his pockets and a tentative smile on his face, I was genuinely surprised. "Welcome back, world traveler," he said, giving me an awkward half-hug. "Thought you might appreciate a ride home after that long flight." In the car, Mark was uncharacteristically forthcoming. "I want you to know I meant what I said in that message. You were right to stand your ground." I glanced at him, surprised by his directness. "Thanks for saying that. And for apparently talking some sense into Mom and Dad." He shrugged, eyes on the road. "Someone needed to. I've been thinking about it a lot since your birthday. We've all gotten way too comfortable with you handling everything, being the responsible one, putting yourself last. It's not fair. When did you get so insightful?" I teased, but I was genuinely touched. Maybe watching my little sister finally stand up for herself made me examine some things. He shot me a quick glance. "For what it's worth, I think this new Rachel is pretty cool." By the time Mark dropped me off at my apartment, we had talked more openly than we had in years. It felt like the beginning of a more authentic relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than established family roles. Walking into my apartment, I was struck by how different it felt. Not because anything had changed physically during my absence, but because I was seeing it through new eyes. The space felt smaller somehow, yet full of possibilities. Before unpacking, I found myself rearranging furniture, clearing cluttered shelves, and putting away items that no longer reflected who I was becoming. Over the next few days, I gradually reacclimatized to my regular life while holding onto the insights from my journey. I added plants to my living space to remind me of Bali's lush landscapes. I set up a small meditation corner with a cushion facing the window. I replaced some generic wall art with framed photos from my trip, visual reminders of a transformative time. Stephanie reached out first, suggesting coffee at a neutral location, a cafe downtown rather than either of our apartments or our parents' house. When we met, her initial awkwardness quickly gave way to curiosity. "You look different," she observed, studying me over her latte. "More, I don't know, centered." I smiled. "I feel different. I'm still not happy about how things went down," she admitted. "But I've been thinking about what you said, about us planning a trip together sometime, one we decide on together. I'd like that." "I would too," I told her sincerely. "And I'm sorry about your birthday," she added, looking genuinely remorseful. "There's no excuse for forgetting it. You never forget any of our special days." "Thank you for saying that." By the time we parted, something had shifted between us. Stephanie had always been the sister who blazed her own trail while I followed the more conventional path. Now that I was asserting my own independence, we were finding a more equal footing. The real test came the following weekend when Mom invited me to Sunday dinner, a regular family gathering that I had missed during my time away. I accepted with some trepidation, unsure how the group dynamic would play out after all that had happened. I arrived to find everyone making a visible effort. Dad greeted me with a warm hug instead of his usual distracted nod. Mom had prepared my favorite lasagna rather than catering to Dad's preferences as she typically did. Mark and Amanda had brought a bottle of Indonesian wine they tracked down at a specialty store. During dinner, I shared stories from my trip, the waterfall hike, the cooking class, the temple ceremonies, and found my family listening with genuine interest. There were a few awkward moments when old patterns tried to resurface, Mom asking if I'd met any nice young men on my trip, Dad questioning whether I'd gotten my money's worth from such an expensive resort, but I navigated them with a new confidence. Actually, Dad, I said when he commented on the cost. It was worth every penny. The experience changed me in ways I'm still discovering. You can't put a price on that kind of transformation. He looked surprised but nodded thoughtfully. I suppose you're right. Money well spent then. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside while the others were having coffee in the living room. I've been thinking about what you said, about always putting everyone else first. I recognized myself in that, I think you learned it from me. She squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you for breaking that pattern sooner than I did. 3 months later, plans were underway for Mom's 60th birthday. In the past, I would have taken charge automatically, organizing every detail and exhausting myself in the process. This time, I suggested a family planning session where we all contributed ideas and divided responsibilities. I'll handle the cake and coordinate with the restaurant, I offered. But Mark needs to be in charge of the guest list since he knows Mom's friends from the club. And Stephanie should arrange the decorations since she has the best eye for design. The look of surprise on their faces was almost comical, but they quickly adjusted to the new approach. The resulting celebration was just as special as those I'd organized single-handedly in the past, but the shared effort made it more meaningful for everyone, and far less draining for me. My personal growth extended beyond family dynamics. At work, I began declining projects that would require excessive overtime. I started a weekend watercolor class. Inspired by the artistic atmosphere of Ubud, I joined a hiking group that explored local nature preserves, satisfying the taste for adventure I'd developed in Bali. Most significantly, I began planning my next solo trip, a 2-week exploration of Portugal that Monica from accounting had recommended. This time, when I mentioned it to my family, their reactions were markedly different. That sounds wonderful, Mom said. I've heard the coastal areas are beautiful. You should look into those historic tram tours in Lisbon, Dad suggested, passing me an article he'd clipped from a travel magazine. Bring me back some of that Portuguese olive oil everyone raves about, Mark requested. Stephanie's response made me smile the most. Send me your itinerary when you've planned it? Not to crash your trip, promise. But because I might want to do something similar someday. Sitting in my apartment on the anniversary of the birthday they had forgotten, the catalyst that had set this entire journey in motion, I reflected on how profoundly things had changed. The forgotten birthday had been painful, but it had forced me to recognize and address patterns that might otherwise have continued indefinitely. My family wasn't perfect now. We still had our moments of tension and misunderstanding. But there was a new respect underlying our interactions, an acknowledgement that each of us had individual needs and boundaries that deserved to be honored. As for me, I had discovered that putting myself first wasn't selfish but necessary, that I could only truly be present for others when I hadn't depleted myself in the process. I had learned that standing firm in my needs didn't drive people away but actually created space for more authentic connections. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do, for ourselves and for those we care about, is to honor our own journey, even when that means saying no to others. It took a forgotten birthday and a solo trip halfway around the world for me to learn this lesson. But it's one I'll carry with me always. If you've ever struggled with putting yourself last, with saying yes when you wanted to say no, with sacrificing your own needs for others, I hope my story inspires you to take that first step toward reclaiming your own joy. It's never too late to start honoring your own journey. What boundaries have you struggled to maintain with loved ones? Have you ever taken a solo trip that changed your perspective? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more stories of personal transformation, and share with someone who might need permission to put themselves first sometimes. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, you deserve to be the main character in your own life story.